स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। I offer my salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, the establisher of religion universal, the embodiment of all world religions, the noblest of divine incarnations. O Divine Lord, lead us from unreal to real. Lead us from darkness of ignorance to light of knowledge, and lead us from death to immortality. Let us be freed from all afflictions and experience joy in peace and tranquility. The importance and application of silence in our daily life. What we see outside, all around, noise everywhere. Inside homes, outside, in the neighborhood, in offices, everywhere, wherever you go, in nook and corner of all the places, we find some kind of disturbance, some kind of noise, which is enough to disturb the mind. The tranquility of the mind cannot be sustained in a disturbed surroundings. Now there is so much noise outside, the whole creation is full of sound, all sorts of sounds. Even night also, we can't have a good sleep. Some sound will be there, some tap sound, something, whatever may be the reason. Well, what about inside us? There also terrible noise, it overtakes us. The mind is rendered restless, lashed by waves of thoughts and feelings, all born of never-ending desires. I have so many desires in my mind, it won't keep me rest. Indiscriminate pursuit of these desires creates such a noise in us, we become debased in our status. Over-possession creates anxiety and tension that finally ruins the health of man. If we observe our mind, we can easily find out how it is highly disorganized and how our inner life, which is invisible, is full of noise and noise. If we look at it, then we hear that sound of noise. Why there is so much peacelessness? It is because of this noise, outside, inside, everywhere. We have not been trained to appreciate, to practice silence in our day-to-day activities. We can be intensely active, at the same time we can maintain supreme silence. Silence is golden. Being feverish and impatient in life, we have not acquainted ourselves with our functioning of our minds. Hence we are being tormented by noise, which is the result of two opposite forces clashing against each other. What are they? In Sanskrit it is called, one force is called as raga, intense attachment,
The other one, dvesha, hatred. In other words, likes and dislikes. These are the two forces causing disturbance in our mind. Then, when we become disgusted with this noise, we aspire for silence. We want to experience the beauty of silence, because from this inner silence alone springs true happiness. Thus we have come to realize that noise is the dreadful enemy which we have to fight relentlessly with strong willpower and determination. No use of simply projecting lame excuses. There is a tendency among some of us that we are not just mature enough, and it is no use to discipline the senses at this stage. This is the time for us to enjoy the world. Well, what is happening in this enjoyment? We are just being lost. We are just being crushed under the wheel of enjoyment. We should not think maturity will drop on us from the heavens. Never. We must think well and act decisively, for the nature of the noise created by our desires, created by our associations, created by surroundings and other factors. This noise, it will suck all our spirit and reduce us to the point of utter restlessness. Maturity is not that state of old age when our senses are powerless. We have to use our paurusha, a strong willpower, to attain maturity by disciplining our senses. Where there is discipline, there is life. Where there is no discipline, it is not life at all. If we desire to have tranquility, we must have all our organs under our perfect command. I am the commander-in-chief. But what we find in practice is that mind has assumed that post of commander-in-chief. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that the image of the moon is not clearly reflected in the pool that is agitated and muddy. How true! When the water is steady and transparent, the image is visible. Then the image is not broken up into fragments. Same is true of the mind also. The reflection of God is always in the mind. But until the mind becomes tranquil and pure, which state we would experience only when it is free from all disturbances, all types of noises, the image of God cannot be observed. In other words, God is always present in us, but we will not be aware of that presence until the mirror of the heart is clear. The noise of agitations in the mind must be stopped through worship, meditation, deep contemplation, and prayers. Then only we feel the power of silence and experience the immense joy of Divine's presence. We could feel that. Just now we have experienced how that beautiful song, just immediately after that song was sung, we could feel the beauty, the serenity of that deep silence. That is the glory of God. That is the experience we have, some glimpses. Silence is considered the mysterious power of God. God does all the things silently, without noise, without broadcasting, without advertisement. There is an incident which shows how the divine power works silently, how it is ever compassionate to raise the human beings from suffering and disturbances. Probably you may know this incident. There was a lady by name Mrs. Wheeler in Montclair, New Jersey. Once she had a dream where she saw a luminous figure full of love and compassion. She had not seen that figure before. That luminous figure, it looked after her with tenderness, love and affection. It was looking at her steadfastly. No talk was there. Just seeing, that's all. Just at that moment, supreme silence prevailed. It was a unique experience. Then, as usual, the dream was interrupted. At that time, that lady was passing through a terrible crisis in life. This vision at that point of time filled her with mysterious joy and cleared off all her agony once and for all. She was amazed. It was as if a new life for her. She began to think who this luminous figure was. She had not seen this figure before. She concluded by seeing that figure that it must be some holy man from India. Well, she was waiting to see that holy figure. For the holy man's gentle eyes radiated purity and love. It had given her comfort to her weary heart. That vision, in deep silence, created a deep impression in her mind, and it changed her inner life tremendously. She was hankering after to see that form, how to do that. So anybody coming from India to New York, this lady would rush all the way from New Jersey just to find out whether that person was really she had seen in her dream. Several times she had come, but several times she had to go back in vain. Once it so happened, Swami Chidananda ji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, his photograph is there on your backside. He gave a talk in New York, which was attended by this lady. She was impressed by his talk and invited him to her place to speak on Vedanta philosophy. Swamiji agreed. He went to New Jersey, gave several talks on Vedanta. One day he spoke at length on Sri Ramakrishna. After the lecture was over, this lady became interested and wanted to know more about Sri Ramakrishna. She ascertained whether any photograph of Sri Ramakrishna was available. Chidananda was amazed at her devotion and sincerity. Immediately he showed her the picture of the Master. As soon as she saw this photo, she said with a choking voice, "Oh, this is the man I have been searching for all these years. It is he who came to me in my dream and blessed me with his gracious presence, who removed all agony from my heart. His sparkling eyes showered benediction on me and completely transformed me. I shall eternally be grateful to him." That is how we find the divine power works through silence. it works through silence. If you just enter into worship room and sit there 5 minutes silently every day, most of your problems would be solved and you will reach that state of tranquility. Tranquility, serenity, sacredness, these are all the precious fruits of silence. In silence only we will be able to realize the divine supreme. Practice of silence is done by persistently restraining all wandering, aimless thoughts, all idle conversations, and all non-essential interests which now consume so much of our time and energy. In silence only mind becomes ekagra, that is one-pointed. To achieve this concentration, we must adopt watch and pray attitude, to resist temptations, to avoid committing bad things, and to secure perfect silence. Bad habits and the neglect of our spiritual advancement are responsible for this state of our restlessness, and we are so careless, we little guard upon our tongue. We must vehemently reject useless and curious conversations, to speak only what is good or necessary. If we practice this, it will help us a great lot. There was a Chinese thinker, he made a significant remark. The sages do not talk, the talented ones talk, and the stupid ones argue. We love to argue when we should be silent. The great teachers of humanity have been men and women of few words. Lord Buddha never entered into controversy. Guru Nanak never argued. Mirabai, a woman saint, was silent, or else she sang her soul-stirring songs through which we still may hear the voice of God. Another teacher has said, "Be silent that the divine Lord who gave you language may speak." Once somebody asked Jesus, "Sir, how may a man grow in devotion?" The Lord answered, "Devotion has 10 parts, 9 of which are found in silence, and 1 in flight from men." We have come in this human body to make a pilgrimage to the shrine of light, the light supreme. Step by step we should learn to move on the path. And the very first step is silence. In silence, each one of us should ask to oneself, what am I? Whence have I come? Whither am I moving? What's the purpose of my visit to this earth plane where darkness of ignorance dwells? In silence we find the answer. What is the source of darkness? It is identified as the ego. The great obstacle on the path is this little I. So this ego must be properly sublimated, if not annihilated. Then only one can see the light. One holy man has rightly pointed out, the ego, the empirical self, is a cause of man's suffering. The more man entangles himself in the ego, the more he suffers. The cure of suffering is therefore to remove this ego, or to make it unimportant and be filled with the holy name of God, whatever form it may be. Not to harbor a single thought of ill will against anyone, to take complete refuge in God and to cherish always calmness in heart and be filled with peace. These are the ways to practice self-annihilation in daily life. In Bhagavad Gita again we find Lord Krishna describing the characteristics of the one who would be very dear to him. Tulyaninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketastiramati bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One who possesses these qualities by steady practice becomes free from disturbances. He becomes steady, established well in silence, and realizes the Paramatman and enjoys infinite peace and bliss. So the devotee, the person, the aspirant who would become dear to the Lord should remain unperturbed by praise and blame. Tulyaninda stuti, that is the meaning. Just as the sky suffers no pollution, such a devotee is neither offended by scorn nor elated by praise. It is a spiritual quality. People may talk, but we should not give importance to that. We should not lose our balance by somebody else's remarks. So that would test our strength also. There were two people in a village. They were living side by side. One of them, he rode on a horse. He went to a particular place. The second one also went. Of course, he didn't go on a horse ride, but he walked through. When he walked, he carried a pillow. For it was his habit to sit leaning on it for carrying out his activities wherever he would halt at a place. It so happened that these two people of the same village set out on some business. The first one went on horse, while the second one walked carrying the pillow. When they were passing through the street, the villagers remarked, seeing them, they said, "Oh, the man going on the horse, he must be a very good officer. The man who is walking carrying the pillow on his head might be the officer's servant." In fact, the reality was both of them are not related to each other. Anyway, people were remarking that way. Now after 1 hour, both these people reached a taluk town. There was a chowl tree at the center of the town. Going there, the second one who was walking with a pillow, he sat on the wall side, putting his pillow on the back side, and he was sitting there in a very cheerful mood. The first one who was coming on horse, he was little disturbed to find out the place where to tie the horse. He was just busy doing that. Now the people who were there, again they talked among themselves, "Oh, the man sitting here resting on the pillow, he must be an officer. The man who is trying to tie the horse, he must be the servant of this officer." See, this is how people talk. So this is a way of the people who talk, but we should be wise enough to discriminate. So no use of such praise or humiliation. That's the point we should note. So a devotee remains undisturbed by mana or apaman, by praise or censure. Once a man reported to a holy man referring to somebody, "Sir, he was criticizing you." The holy man answered, "My friend, was he criticizing Atman or body? Suppose he has criticized Atman. It is the same Atman dwelling in every being. So, he has criticized himself only. If he has criticized body, by that I am immensely benefited. For the body is naturally of bad odor. It produces urine and excreta, all sorts of things. I myself am criticizing this body, full of bones and flesh. What else is there in this body? Well, I thank that man who had criticized, since he also had carried out part of this job." This is how men who cherish the value of silence keep always their mind in a balanced way. They don't want to get disturbed over these matters. Somebody has written a letter to you. The postman comes to you to deliver the letter. If you receive it, of course the matter ends there. Suppose you reject it, saying that it does not meant for you, what will happen? Generally, according to the rules of the postal department, the letter would go back from where it has come. In the same manner, if somebody rebukes you, if you feel that he has insulted you, it means you have received it. But without any reaction in the mind, if you reject those reproaches, according to divine law, those things go back to the man who uttered them. The next quality of the devotee who is dear to the divine Lord, Mauni, Lord Krishna says, he should be silent. He must immensely enjoy silence. That is why the real seekers after realization were supposed to go to forest. Why? Because in forest you have got that natural surroundings of silence. That was the idea. So a man who is ever devoted to silence, he gives full attention to keep his mind fixed on the divine thought. He is contented with whatever that comes. He cannot be dragged out by any desire. Desire is not the primary importance for him. His abode is not confined to a particular place. He believes that everywhere is his home. Aniketaha. The whole creation is Bhagavan's. The whole creation belongs to the Divine Lord. His mind is firm without any vacillation. Such a man deserves to enjoy the fruits of silence. He who tastes them is always peaceful and blissful. He proceeds from one work to another gently, slowly, quietly, taking time to rest and pray between. He dwells in silence. He teaches through silence. And in silence he clears the doubts of many. So it is that the knowers of the secret do not speak much. Those that do not know are fond of talking. Those that are dull and stupid love to argue. Generally speaking, this is the behavior of the ordinary people. There are some teachers who have to talk. Otherwise, it would be impossible to raise people from ignorance. Swami Vivekananda also talked throughout the world. But this is referred to ordinary people. There was one great saint, again I am taking the incident from Ramana Maharshi, who was a man of realization, his method of spiritual practice is unique. He practiced spiritual life in silence, got initiation in silence, and finally realized the power of silence. Through silence, he could get everything. He never approached any human being for anything. In silence, he got everything. He pursued the path of silence. He tasted fruits of silence immensely and taught the same to those who earnestly wanted it. Many people would experience that. People would go to meet him, to have his darshan, to have his grace and blessings. The saint would not speak at all. He would be just simply sitting. But people would love to sit near him. For hours, they would feel immense peace. Immense peace. That vibration would come only by a man of spirituality who was well established in silence. In silence, he would bless them all. In silence, he would bestow on them all his grace. He would remove all agony in their hearts. Everything he would do in silence, not by talking. It was really a tremendous experience. Many of the people who had seen him have expressed that. There are 3 modes of initiation. One is by touch, the other by look, and the third by silence. These are the 3 ways of initiating a person. Once this great saint, Ramana Maharshi, out of his infinite grace, there was a man sitting. He just turned towards him. His eyes fixed upon him with blazing intentness. The luminosity, the power of his eyes pierced into one, breaking down the thought process. It was so powerful. Sometimes it was as though an electric current was passing through one. Sometimes a vast peace, a flood of light. Another devotee described his getting of initiation from Ramana Maharshi. He said, suddenly this Maharshi turned his luminous transparent eyes on me. Before that I could not stand his gaze for long. Now I looked straight back into those powerful, wonderful eyes. How long I could not tell. They held me in a sort of vibration, distinctly audible to me. Always it was followed by the feeling, the indubitable conviction that one had been taken up by Maharshi, that henceforth he was in charge. He was responsible for everything. He was guiding. Sometimes some devotees would get initiation by silence. It entered into those who turned to Maharshi in their hearts without being able to go bodily to meet him. Sometimes it was given in a dream. It was sincerity that was required, not brilliance. Understanding, not theory. Humility, not pride. Then one can experience the power and glory of silence. There are 3 ways to get the fruits of silence. One is like the bird which needs to sit on its eggs in order to hatch them. The second is like the fish which needs only to look at them. And the third is like the tortoise which needs only to think of them. Grace is the cream of the fruits of silence. One day, a French lady came to see the ashram where Ramana Maharshi lived. She did not know of philosophy and she could not understand it even. But from the time of her visit, she became a devout Catholic, although she had been little more than a nominal one before. And she recognized that the change was due to the influence of silent grace of Maharshi showered upon her. Real Mauna, that is real, meditated and lived on the hill. The name of the hill is called Arunachal. It was silent inspiration to Ramana Maharshi. He meditated there, entering into deep silent mood, and in course of time got the most precious, auspicious and delicious fruits of silence. That is the Brahma Sakshatkar, the realization of the Paramatman, the experience of supreme peace and blessedness. Once a Muslim devotee, looking at the majestic hill, said to her friend, "My dear, Maharshi is a walking God and all our prayers are answered. Though he has not talked with us, that is my experience." Maharshi says that this hill, Arunachal, the hill itself is God. I cannot understand all that. But since Ramana Maharshi has said so, I believe it. Her Muslim friend, who had tremendous faith in Persian tradition, replied, "See, according to our Persian beliefs, I would take it as a sign if it rained. If there is a rain, then I would believe it." Almost immediately, there was a shower, and these ladies came down the hill drenched. Saint John of the Cross, the experiencer of the fruits of silence, has aptly stated, "My beloved is the mountains, the solitary wooded valleys, strange islands, silent music." One devotee asked Ramana Maharshi, "Master, how to practice meditation?" Ramana Maharshi replied, "Keep off thoughts when there are thoughts. It is destruction. It causes vibrations of disturbance. So keep them off. When there are no thoughts, it is meditation." To keep the mind in one's own self for a long time results in the real state of peace, which is the fruit of silence. Absence of thoughts does not mean a blank. There must be one to know the blank. Knowledge and ignorance both are of the mind. They are born of duality. But the Atman is beyond knowledge and ignorance. The witness, it is light itself. There is no necessity to see the self with another self. There are no two selves at all. What is not self is non-self. What is not self is non-self. The non-self cannot see the self. The self has no sight or hearing. It lies beyond these all alone as pure consciousness. There was a lady who had a golden necklace. Sometimes she would wear it and sometimes she would keep it in a box. One day, on account of some disturbance in her mind or so, some confusion, it so happened she imagined that the necklace had been lost. She went about searching for it until she was reminded of it by a friend. She had created her own sense of loss, her own anxiety of search, and then her own pleasure of recovery. Similarly, the self is all along there, whether we search for it or not. Again, just as the lady feels as if the lost necklace has been regained, so also the removal of ignorance and the cessation of false identification reveal the self which is always present, here and now. This is called realization. It is not new. It amounts to elimination of ignorance and nothing more. Once the ignorance is destroyed, the light shines by itself. Once the cloud goes away, the sun shines in all its glory. It is all shining only. Because with the cloud, the sun was not visible. Same is the case with our Atman. As long as there is the cloud of ignorance in the mind, we will not be able to see the brilliant light of the Atman, which is the abode of supreme peace and blessedness. So all our effort should be to get rid of this ignorance. That could be achieved through holy association, through understanding, assimilating the ideas of the great saints. Describing the glory of silence, Ramana Maharshi again has remarked, language is only a medium for communicating one's thoughts to another. It is called in only after thoughts arise. Other thoughts arise after the I thought rises. The I thought is the root of all conversation. When one remains without thinking, one understands another by means of universal language of silence. Silence is ever speaking. It is a perennial flow of language. It is interrupted by speaking. These words obstruct that mute language. There is electricity flowing in the wire. With resistance to its passage, it glows as a lamp or revolves as a fan. In the wire, it remains as electric energy. Similarly, silence is the eternal flow of language, obstructed by words. What one fails to know by conversation extending to several years can be known in a trice in silence. Such is the glory of this silence. The more we appreciate silence, the more we become nearer to God. The more we understand the value of silence, the more we enjoy peace. The more we reduce our disturbing thoughts in the mind, the more we appreciate the value of silence. So the whole treasure is found in silence. So God can be realized through the practice of silence. So silence is golden. Let us all worship silence. God is supreme silence. In deep sleep state, one enjoys supreme happiness. Why? Because It is completely free from all types of thoughts. There is no thought current there. So such is the state of the silence. Let us all pray to the Divine Lord so that we may all have that glimpse of silence. Jai Ramakrishna.